entertain me.
Yes.
What is the bigger picture and the spillover effect for real estate in general if this goes in the direction of it's just going to crumble down?
The commercial market is so large that if the Fed doesn't stop the contagion and get these mortgage-backed securities performing and get these office buildings performing, and they do that by lowering rates, then this sucks down the whole economy and we go into Great Depression number 2. I mean, just period, end of discussion. There's no way around it. It's the literal black hole. No gravity, no light, and I just suck everything into it. I don't think that's going to happen. Here's why. We're going into an election year. They want to prop up the economy. They want to make things look good. I think what the Fed's trying to do is the Fed's trying not to cut in March. They're trying to get to April or May before they cut. I think that what they're doing is they're just trying to put the problem out there, but they're going to come in and save us, and they're going to turn on the money printers before this becomes a problem. And I believe seeing this, I've got to change now one of my kind of long-term thoughts. And one of my longer-term thoughts was we would never see really low rates again. This is an item that could force us into the 4s, into the 5s, maybe if we got lucky into the 3s, because they have to prop up the whole thing. So you have to think of commercial at scale, right? So if you've got a 100,000 square foot office complex, or you've got a 250 unit apartment complex, that's $100 million, $250 million property, depending on where it's located. You can't have something that's $250,000 all of a sudden go to 150 million and not expect that to have massive ripples.
Ripples in your own life as an investor, and then in the banks,
in the local economy, with the investors that put their money into it, all of that. Those big drops in pricing and in available equity, what that is the contagion. So the Fed will stop the spread of that. They'll put that fire out. And how do they do that?
Lower interest rates.
Bingo, money printer.
What was that meme? All the money flying out, right, Powell?
I think even though he's talking tough in this one, and they're really strong, I think that's actually what it's leading us towards.
Well, it's always the case.
Yes.
I mean, that's just like their go-to. It's almost kind of boring now because it's like so predictable.
It's their favorite playbook.
And when I say predictable, money printing, lowering interest rates, basically, kind of, could you say helicopter money? Just kind of like giving everybody freebies, bailing banks out, kind of like being your best friend. When I guess the disciplined thing to do is let some things crumble and fail.
Please.
Now, I know this is this is the first time you said depression. The first time.
Because I'm generally an optimist, but like the commercial market, if it gets everyone thinks real estate is just residential, it's just houses. How many buildings are there?
I mean, how many major cities are there?
How many major cities are there? Once again, the space I'm worried about the most, like if I'm going to rank the commercial spaces, office number 1, big multifamily number 2, hotels number 3, some of those industrial number 4. I was talking with the largest developer in our area, and he's helping to put in a bunch of that huge industrial up there in kind of that Arlington, Smoky Point area. All the industrial that's from the 60s, 70s, and 80s is officially outdated. Nobody wants it. Why? The Amazon effect. The Amazon effect in this kind of e-commerce industrial space, what it's done is it's saying, I want a 30 to a 40 foot clear span inside. I want to be able to stack racks up super high inside of that. I need concrete that's so freaking thick it can hold hundreds of thousands of pounds for shipping, for containers, for forklifts, for those giant racks. Most of that industrial, though, that's older industrial, it's not that tall.
Yeah.
The concrete's not that thick. It doesn't have tens of thousands of watts and amps of power coming into the building. When you see something that's like an Amazon, there's one over there, and the dang thing is like 5 stories tall. And the amount of power going into that building and how thick the concrete is, that's making old industrial outdated.
Yeah. Aging, not practical.
Bingo.
The new thing is just smarter for your business. So that combined with bad debt,
Yep.
and the fact that we're supposed to stay tight for longer, the environment is just really bad for the commercial space. What I'm trying to figure out is, like you said, there's like opportunities to buy where
Yes.
there's going to be some people desperate to sell, they have to sell, but what are other things that could happen? This one's like play it out.
Yeah.
Like the next year, the next 2 years.
Well, if we're playing this out, the wild cards that we don't have in here is there's almost $6 trillion sitting in money market accounts. That cash, as yields go down, has to go somewhere. Where's it going to go? It's probably going to go into real estate and probably going to go into the stock market. So there's cash sitting there waiting to buoy some of this up, okay? In addition to potential money printing, that's an interesting scenario. An interesting scenario like going back to those old warehouses. Those old warehouses may be prime candidates for you to buy them, rehab them, and let's say they're like 60,000 square feet, cut them into smaller chunks. So the auto body shop, the small machine shop. What people have to be careful of as they're listening to anything out there in the media is we get really emotionally attached to the doom and gloom. I want our listeners to always flip that doom and gloom over and say, okay, as I flip this over, what's the opportunity that's being created here? Because there's always an opportunity. And what I talked about on Facebook earlier today was you can make your own economy and you can literally win in any economy. So sometimes you just need to ignore the media and just make your own economy and find that opportunity. The other thing that smaller office or maybe A-class office that's like outside of a major metro, like if San Francisco is falling apart, or parts of Seattle office are falling apart, Bellevue office are falling apart, well, it makes sense if people are living more in the burbs. I can then just run right out to a suburb, buy an A-class office there, and probably do pretty well. So once again, there's this, yes, I wouldn't buy an A-class office in a downtown metro. There might be a phenomenal office building or strip mall that could work really well that's in the burbs. I'm just going to avoid a metro for the next, 24 to 36 months until this contagion stabilizes.